I bought this Tesla a little over a year ago, and I recently found the original window sticker here. Knew this car cost over $140,000. That's without taxes, and I'm pretty sure it came with every single option, including the $10,000 ludicrous speed upgrade. And since these things have completely tanked in value, I bought the entire car for just $10,300. Now, it's no secret that these old Teslas are an amazing used car bargain, but they are cheap for a reason. Actually, for two reasons. If the main high voltage battery, the one that powers the entire car, dies, or if one of the drive motors goes out, the thing that moves the car down the road, well, the cost to replace these items generally will exceed the entire value of the car. A few months ago when I was driving my Tesla, a warning popped up on the dash, and I really didn't think much of it since the car wasn't making any noises, and it still got me home safely, and I figured it might have been just a fluke, one that went away the next time I went to drive the car. But when that next time came, the warning came even quicker. The warning was for the front drive motor, that it had been disabled, and you could feel the difference. The car was a lot slower than usual, obviously because, well, there's no power being delivered in the front end. At first, I called a friend of mine that's taken apart a lot of these older Teslas and asked him what the easy way would be to just fix my car. And he replied that the easiest way would be to get rid of it and take the loss, that I would likely just need an entire replacement motor and that I really can't fix this car. But I think can't is the real C word, so I ignored what he said and looked all over the internet, chatting with AI and just trying to see if there were any other solutions. And, well, the few online articles I found about a similar issue really just led to other Tesla owners saying they had their motors replaced, but under warranty. Of course, my car is well outside of its warranty period, but even so, I went on the Tesla app and requested service for the car. What's cool about this is that Tesla can remotely diagnose the errors within the car and provide a free estimate. And when the estimate came in, confirmed exactly what I was already told, that the car would need an entire front motor replacement at a cost of over $5,500. You know, if this quote came from like a European car dealer, it'd just be another day, but the fact that it's on one of these electric cars that is a lot more straightforward, they tell us we need a motor replacement, I'm starting to think we might actually need a motor replacement, which is totally not worth it. This is where we pump the brakes. Of course, we're going to look into alternate solutions. The other big thing we can do right now, which is especially helpful right after you spend most of your money on a car, which then instantly turns into a project car, is to use Clover, an app where you can advance up to $400 before payday with no interest, no late fees, and no credit checks. And coming up, we're gonna try and MacGyver a solution to our Tesla problem, which if it works, $400 will be plenty enough to get us all the parts and supplies we need for the job and grab us a pizza in between. The way it works is really easy. You can wait a few days for your advance, or if you pay a small fee, you can have it deposited instantly. And unlike other services, there are no membership fees required to get an advance. Clover's different. They don't have to charge you nonsense fees because they make their money through outside brands and deals that you can find within the app. And of course, their instant advance fee. Clover was designed to give you smarter and faster access to your own money. So hit the link in the description or scan the QR code to get up to $400 before payday with Clover. At this point, I really didn't think there would be any reasonable fix for my Tesla, so I parked it in the field and listed it for sale at the junk auction. I marked it as is and priced it much less than I even paid for it, and I got offers here and there for a few $1,000s, but I couldn't bring myself to sell it so cheap, and it was a good thing I just let it sit, because a while later I was recommended a video on YouTube from a channel named Out of Spec Renew. The host Alex described a problem which seemed similar to mine, and I watched the video anxiously waiting for the part where he replaces an entire drive motor. But that part never came, and the actual fix was much cheaper than $5,500.
Sam reached out to me because he had an issue with this Model S, which was actually a video that I had done basically the same repair on. He came across that and reached out because he wanted to confirm whether or not his Model S had the same problem. So I actually connected to the vehicle remotely via Tesla Toolbox. I was able to go through all the log data and confirm that it was indeed the same failure. And the failure was with the front drive unit encoder sensor. Now, the encoder sensor is essentially just a Hall effect sensor that is used to measure the speed of the motor. If the sensor fails, then the inverter no longer has a reliable feedback to know what speed the motor is spinning at, so the motor gets disabled. The workaround to get around having to pull the whole drive unit to access that encoder sensor is if you drop the battery out of the car, you can actually remove the traction inverter and access the encoder sensor from behind the inverter. I suppose if anybody has any questions about this, I'll try and stay active in the comments on Sam's video. And if you're interested in seeing other electric vehicle repair content, be sure to check out the Out of Spec Renew channel.
I've been looking for a reason to pull out the auto pucks here. I've actually used the generic ones a few times, but they have one specifically for Tesla and for Corvette. And when we got these bend pack lifts installed, well, I went ahead and ordered these at the same time because I work on Corvettes all the time, but I also seemingly work on this Tesla a lot, and they're really simple and just save the underneath of these cars that are a little bit different than others. So like on the Tesla here, it's really simple. You got these 3 little holes, and it's gonna sit right in the center there to make sure everything's neat and tidy and away from the battery assembly. When you hear about people taking batteries out of a Tesla, it's like easy, right? It's just a bunch of bolts holding this thing in place. Literally, when you get every single bolt out, it should just drop down. Problem is the mass of it. Obviously, it starts at the beginning of the car, goes to the end of the car. But unlike, dropping an engine or transmission, it's all one uniform shape. So again, there's good parts of it, bad parts of it. The entire pack weighs somewhere, according to the internet, around 1,200 pounds. And you can actually see where the fasteners are. They're all in these recessed holes here. And if you look, there's kind of like a group that run the center of the car and then down the sides of the car as well. And I actually found one back here that's missing. Either way, the main part I'm concerned about is getting this down. We're gonna put it on the ground somehow, but it's gotta be elevated a little bit. And then we're gonna want a little bit of movement. It'll be nice if it's on wheels, because if you ever drop like a drivetrain out of a car, even if you do it straight down on the ground on jack stands, you know that sometimes going back in, you need a little bit of movement one way or another, and that's where things can slow you down. So come over here. We've got this thing, which is just, a general moving sort of dolly thing. It's funny, when you're buying these, they look way bigger than they actually are. But this is like to move heavy things up and down on my truck bed. Its weight capacity is 1,100 pounds. I did get it from Temu, so we'll see. We might be putting that weight limit to the test. But there's no way that the surface area on that platform is gonna handle the entire battery. No wonder the Skill brand was on sale. Oh my goodness. Can someone let me know, is this normal for this dumb drill to be doing this? All right, so here's just our small little low voltage 12 volt battery. We're gonna disconnect this as well. We gotta clean that up, that's really nasty. But one of the important things to look at is the coolant reservoir here, because in some cases, if you have any coolant loss, what will happen is it will leak into, from what I understand, the rear drive motor. I don't think the front drive motor can be affected by that. If you look at where ours is sitting, car is cold and it's not real low. You can see quite a bit of coolant in there. And from the trouble codes that the car has generated, it does point to really a sensor failure in our front drive unit, which is actually located all right here. This is kind of where we're going to need to get in this area, but we need to get underneath the car, and that's why the battery pack down here has got to come out. So right here is where the high voltage connector is. They call this the fireman safety loop, because a fireman in an accident would just come right here and snip this wire with the cutters. We don't want to cut it, we just want to disconnect it. And on these old Teslas, it's a pain. We got to take out the fresh air intake duct right here, and then we'll have access to it. Pull it upward. that should come up, and then it should just like slide out. There you go, really easy. So with that 12-volt battery out of the way, we've got direct access to the inverter here, which we're going to need to get basically this insulation off in order to reach the cover where our sensor's hiding. I recently 3D printed a handful of these guys right here. These are coolant hose clamps, and we need to remove that coolant line from the top of the inverter there. So this will be the perfect time to try them out. See if we can fit in here. Squeeze it down and then slip this clip over. All right. It's right there. I can feel it. You gotta be careful because Tesla uses a lot of plastic fittings and you don't want to crack any of those off because then I don't know what in the heck you do. But there's one right there. So with the little trim covers up the front and the back here, we're ready to start taking out the actual bolts that hold this pack in place. I'm just checking in the back end here to make sure there's nothing that's gonna hold us up. There's nothing kind of hidden that's holding this pack up in here. It looks good. And the other last minute check we really need to do is just make sure, you see how we've kind of got these hooked over on the side here. We want to make sure that our lift arms are not in the way of the actual pack, because if you had these over enough, these would get in the way of things dropping. We've got them moved over about as good as we can. So let's start removing some bolts. Could you imagine stripping one of these in here? What would you do about that?
Leave it.
All right, this one's wanting to stay. Yep. Oh, there, never mind. Ugh, another one that's wanting to stay.
Try a magnet.
It's okay. All right, all that's left are the bolts holding this thing in along the perimeter, and then these two huge ones here in the front. So just to make our lives easier, because this thing's about to be a lot lower, we're gonna go and just crack these two guys loose with our impact. Oh shoot, what just fell?
The one that was still stuck.
Oh, that's funny. Here it comes. I'm just trying to get a good idea of where the center of everything is here. Well, we can do that once we lower it a bit, right? Like we can get it nice and even and have this amazing thing perfect. Let's see. Let's get it down, man. We're ready. What do you think's gonna happen? Is this thing just gonna get crushed?
No.
You think it's gonna work? Are you that confident? I mean, this was my idea. Hold up, wait. Are you sure it's gonna work? Okay. I was just making sure. The wheel's gonna have to come off. That's the next question. Wow, it's so funny. It looks so tall when you're building it, and then look how much room we have to the ground here. All right, here's where we get close and we watch and we take notes.
Keep going.
I mean, yeah, you could keep going. It looks kind of nice, except for that one screw there on the side. What's that about?
What?
That thing. I don't know what that's about. I don't know how that happened. All right. Slow. All right. We're on.
Yeah.
I think we're like officially on. Do we want a hair? Just an absolute, what's that terminology car guys use to measure a really finite, you know what I'm talking about? That really finite measurement. It's like,
Begin with the C?
what, like a centimeter? No, it'd be centimeters too big. Anyway, we've got a hair is what we've got. Okay, the big guys are out. Go ahead with the small guys. Geez, they said wear gloves, but they didn't say anything about eye protection. Okay, I think that might be the last one.
Moment of truth.
It is. Let's hit this button and see what happens.
Look underneath.
Huh?
How's the palette look?
It looks, it's still there. Go. A little bit more. Hold on. I'm good. Yeah, I don't like it because if you look, what the heck is it getting caught on? I'm just worried about the rear. The front looks like it's definitely falling. Hold on. The front looks like it's falling and everything is tilted towards the front.
Why'd you say, oh yeah, it's coming down?
Well, the front is definitely coming down. Look, you could see right here, okay, that huge gap. What I don't like is that this massive gap on the back. This isn't the dumbest thing I've ever done, but that little sticker is hiding the whole reason why the rear of this battery is not coming down. This was a lot of fun, very straightforward. Besides the 2 bolts holding us up, we got this battery pack out in a little bit over an hour, and that's because we were taking our time. This is our first time doing it. I'm sure the dealership slapped these things in and out, especially with a legit battery table. But everything here is like self-disconnecting. These are coolant ports right here. And there's no disconnecting anything to drop the battery. It's just those bolts that you saw. There's a couple of electronic connectors over there that we definitely do not want to touch. And that's it. Battery drops out. All the work we did in the front area was just to prepare ourselves to get to this drive unit here. So at this point, as much as I want to keep this exactly where it is so it goes back nice and neat, we're probably going to have to push this back just a foot or two to get better access to our front drive unit. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Oh, it's moving away. Do you think we can just work on this in place? Oh yeah. Is the pack moving? No, it's perfect. It's perfect. Look at that. Look at that. Boom. That's it.
Yep.
The darn coolant stripping, but all right, there, coolant hose, let's get that first. I took a bit of a coolant bath, but the hose is off, and now we just gotta work these covers off here, which are really nice and Velcroed in place. It's amazing after 100,000 miles how clean really all this is. And really, we're just gonna kind of fight this stuff off of here because what we're looking at is the cover that needs to come off in order for us to get to that sensor. You can see it's held on with just a few bolts, but kind of just need to peel everything back and out of the way to get to that. Oh, we just wrecked it. But there's the 2 bolts we need to remove. And underneath that cover are those 3 screws which are holding on a connector inside the cover off to the side here. So those got to be undone before we can get that cover off. All right, all the screws should be off for this cover. It just is it's on there, maybe with a little sealer or something. Let's see. Let's give it a little mallet tap. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, whatever this thing is here, this has got to be disconnected before we can actually pull the cover off. We're so darn close. Come on, you. Come on. Make sure. Oh, what was that? Okay, there it is. All right. Let's hope we didn't break anything in here. Yeah, I definitely did end up breaking something, but the good news is our inverter cover, circuit board, and all the wiring here is perfect. And it's amazing when you're dealing with these electric cars how really clean everything is compared to a car that burns fuel. But with everything being electric, there are a lot of connectors, and one of them was still attached. The noise we just heard was a plastic connector breaking off. Initially, I thought we were in for a huge problem. Since this is all one big assembly, I figured it was all fixed on the circuit board, but after a quick image search, it turns out that the part we broke is a pretty standard Molex connector, one that someone created and published a 3D print model for because they happened to break theirs while working on their Tesla. So as dumb as I felt for making this mistake in the first place, at least there's one other guy who made the same mistake, but he's way smarter than me because he created this print file for us, which gave us a really amazing solution, one that we could implement in less than an hour. I loaded up some ABS filament, which works really well for automotive applications, and printed up this replacement connector. The circuit board's held in the casing with these tiny screws here. You're not gonna find a bit in your standard mechanics tool set, but luckily I've got the iFixit electronics repair screwdriver set right here, and we're gonna need to go all the way down to like a T3 maybe. All right, let's see. Oh, here it is, look. To install it was really very straightforward. We just had to be careful on mounting the circuit board here in the housing. The old one slid right out, but before the new one can go in, we have to use a little bit of gasket maker in the channel as the factory gasket doesn't actually fit here. I know I made a mess of this and it looks absolutely terrible, but ugly and functional is still much better than my ex-wife, so I'm pretty confident this will actually work. And now that the inverter cover is all fixed up, we can't forget why we took it off in the first place. We still have to swap out that sensor, which is right here inside the motor. Now there's just one bolt holding it in place. Now this is very similar to like a camera crank position sensor that you'd find in any sort of like combustion engine. And the last time I removed one of these from a General Motors V8, it took almost 2 days because with all the heat of the engine, the plastic casing expands and well, they come out in fragments. But again, since this is an electric car and it doesn't generate nearly as much heat, well, this one popped right out in 2 seconds. And the strange thing here is that our sensor didn't really have that much buildup on it. A lot of times it'll collect fine metal dust, and over several miles and years, enough buildup will get on these that will interfere with the signal. Take a look at this sensor that Alex replaced on a Model S. It's got quite a bit more junk on it than ours, and that does make sense since the car he was working on has around 3 times the miles. Now, maybe our sensor just failed from age. Either way, you could in theory wipe this off and try to reuse it, but with the amount of work involved, of course, we're gonna replace this one with another part that I got from the Mercedes-Benz dealer for just 70 bucks. So the Mercedes-Benz B-Class was a car that really, you didn't see much around here. It was one of those West Coast, like EV cars that the manufacturers were forced to make. And it's kind of like a compact SUV, and actually, I bought one because nowadays you can get them for next to nothing. And those cars borrowed a motor from Tesla. They were front wheel drive. And the one I had, when I got it, one of the tests you can do is actually pull out the same exact sensor that we're installing right now. But on those cars, since they use the main drive unit in the front, that sensor is right external. You can pull it in like 2 or 3 minutes. Those ones had problems with coolant intrusion. Again, like we mentioned on the back motor of this car, the one I pulled out had all this gummy coolant mess all on it. I sent it right back to the auction and got my money back because you're talking about an entire drive unit replacement at that point. So in other words, if you need one of these sensors to fix one of your Tesla drive units, you can easily get them at the Mercedes dealer. All right, everything kind of just goes back in reverse. It's so funny to think like there's some slightly fresh RTV on here, and on every other car I work on, I have to let it sit for several hours, but because it's a Tesla and there's not a lot of heat generated, not as nearly as much heat generated as those other cars, we just kind of throw it all back together. Do we look solid back here? Put this up and make sure we're not mashing the circuit board against anything at the same time. We got our insulated covers back on, the coolant hoses put back in place, as well as all those electrical connectors. This thing should be all buttoned up. Now we just need to get the battery back in place. Now, getting that battery back in place, hopefully it just kind of plugs back in, But Alex did give us a really good idea here. In order to make things go as smooth as possible, we can use like a stud here and then one in the opposite corner to basically act as like a guide pin when these things go back together. So I went and just bought this long piece, a threaded rod here, cut it in half. And so we're gonna have like what, maybe 10 inches sticking out of the bottom to kind of guide each corner of the battery pack in place. 1, 2, 3. There we are. All right. Okay, now we can push. Okay. Okay. More? Okay. So we kind of look here. We're going straight down into that hole there. And then when we come around here, we're going from this hole straight up to that. So let's go ahead. We'll just start dropping the car real slow and see where it lands. Okay, so we're off a little, but it's okay. We're gonna keep going, keep going. All right, stop right there, just so we know we need to come up a little bit still. And we wanna avoid touching these things right here. There you go. Oh, let's just kind of go. All right, go. This is a great idea. This would be a lot more difficult without this idea. All right, we are going, stop right there. I don't know how down the other side is, but we just wanna make sure we're not running that stud in the actual high voltage pack. All right, this needs to be brought just like right here. I'm gonna go with you. All right, wait, stop. That's it. Okay. All right.
Go forward a little?
Yes. Right there, too much. Go back. Just shimmy it right there. Wait. Hair. Right there. Stop. Okay. So in the body is basically one of those nuts. Yeah. So you see how this moves? So it's got play to it, which is perfect. So let's go and we just basically want to lower it, and I can easily manipulate this in there at this point. Hair. More. All right, stop there. I'm gonna go check the other side. All right, my threaded rod is in the hole there, okay? Let's check this side. This is perfect. Go down more. Just go down. All right, so we're in both, okay? So now we're gonna keep going down and then just do little adjustments from there. So keep going down because both the threaded rods should be good to go. All right, I'm starting to lose sight. I'm gonna have to bring these dollies back. 1,000 pounds my ass. I guess they are still holding technically. All right, now we'll just go grab this rod out and we'll swap it for an actual screw here. All right, I went and ran every single bolt in by hand on this side. Andrew did them down on the other side. And so now we've kind of messed around with the ones that we can reach in the center. We've got those ones in. When I say the center front and center back. The ones in the direct center still are obviously not in. But now we're gonna just drive these up. All right, I think we can officially go up with it at this point. Let's get this out of the way. It's connected. You know, we did all this without the car being in service mode. Do you think that's gonna affect anything? We'll find out right now. Remember, Tesla wanted $5 grand for a new motor. No check engine lights, nothing like that. We're good so far. All right. My foot's on the brake. That's what turns the car on. Are the wheels elevated off the ground? Okay, here. We're gonna go back into drive, see if it lets us move it a little bit on the lift. Oh yeah, I mean, I feel the wheels moving. Front wheels going?
All of them are.
Good. Yeah, you gotta think, if it was disengaging that front motor, it wouldn't spin front wheels, right? So that's a good test, but obviously we got to get it down. We got to get it out on the road and make sure it does that for a few miles. So one of the coolest DIY-friendly features of these Teslas is that when you need to bleed the coolant system, there's an automatic program you can run right from its center screen. To do this on any other car, you usually need a special, expensive diagnostic tool, but on this decade-old Tesla, we just tap a few buttons here and the pumps start running, cycling coolant through the system to remove any trapped air we might have let in during our repairs. Funny enough, while the pumps were running, we noticed a decent-sized leak. And at first I thought maybe we just didn't put something back right, but actually this leak was coming from an area we didn't even touch. This looks like a valve here that moves coolant through the system, and apparently it's a common failure point on these old Model S's, because when I took a picture and searched it up online, up came a replacement part from a third party for $50. So I ordered one up, and it was very simple to swap. It's just held in with a couple of screws, and there are 4 coolant lines running to it that need to be disconnected on the old one, then reconnected on the new one. And while we're in here, the car's been telling me for a while that one of my headlight bulbs was out, so I grabbed a couple generic ones off of Temu. $20 for a pair of xenons is ultra cheap, so it'll be interesting to see how long these hold up. From here, we just threw a little charge at the car to give it some decent range, so now we're ready to give it a real road test. Man, we are so back. Right now, we're going, well, we'll just say at speed. The light has not come on the dashboard. I've been driving for about 6 or 7 miles, whereas before, that warning would come on just moving the car in and out of the driveway at very slow speeds. It would trigger that light, it would disable the motor, and it would stay that way until you reset the car. And then again, well, you'd start the car up, you drive it a few feet, warning would come back on. So our front motor was pretty much permanently disabled before. The one time I basically limped it home, you could feel it was sluggish because you're missing all the power from that front motor. And now it's back. It's here. This is definitely a worthwhile fix. And these old Teslas are just so great. And in my opinion, even having the newer Tesla, the Plaid, it's a cool and extraordinarily fast car, but the value that comes in one of these older Teslas is just unmatched, especially as they continue to announce that they're stripping features away from these cars that made the original ones so great. There was a news story recently that all the new Teslas will not have autopilot. This car has the first version of autopilot, and I think in a lot of cases it's better than the newer cars, because unless you're subscribed to the full self-driving, which is $100 a month, well, you can't change lanes by yourself, whereas this old car can, and it's constantly nagging you because they've got a camera pointed at your face. So if they see you turn your head one way or another, it's beeping at you and telling you to grab the steering wheel and do all this stuff. I get it. Safety is important, and I do agree it should be a #1 priority. But the new cars can be a bit annoying, whereas this one just kind of does its thing. And don't get me wrong, the new Teslas are absolutely amazing. The Plaid is so incredibly fast. But if you can pick up an old Model S for around $10,000 or even under $10,000, and I see it all the time on Marketplace, well, the value is unmatched as long as you're willing to work on it yourself. All right, so we've gone a little bit over 10 miles on this test drive, and our light has not returned. That's telling us right now that we're just raising the suspension. That's another cool feature of these old Teslas, where I have it programmed in here when I get to my home driveway, since I go over a little bit of grass and gravel, to just bring the suspension up a little bit. and it remembers based on your geographic location. But based on how this car feels now, I'd say that this was a very successful repair. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button. There is no better feeling when you're quoted some several $1,000 bill from the dealership and a bunch of other people on top of it tell you that the car is severely broken, that it's not worth wasting your time on, and you should just cut your losses, and you're able to fix it like we did with a $70 sensor and a little bit of a wood crafting project. Well, it was just a lot of fun. And again, a very functional repair. And I want to thank Alex from Out of Spec Renew, because without the information he provides on his channel, we probably would have never figured this one out. So go ahead, give him a follow. I went and dropped his channel down at the link in the description, and make sure you're subscribed to this channel because, well, I've got a BMW over there in the distance, which needs a new transmission pump. The BMW sells for $11,000. And well, again, we're going to try and make it a lot cheaper than that. And when I say a lot cheaper, I mean a lot cheaper. That's coming up next. But until then, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching today, and I'll catch you very soon.